In a moment, we're going to be reading 1 Samuel 2, verse 30. The point that Samuel makes in this passage is a point we want to study today. In 1 Samuel 2, verse 30, Samuel writes this: Therefore, Jehovah, the God of Israel, saith, I said indeed that thy house and the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now, Jehovah saith, Be it far from me. For them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. Our subject for study this morning is prompted by a question from a young lady. After reading and studying Revelation chapter 7 and the 144,000 coming out of the various tribes of Israel, the question was asked this way. By the way, in that, we made the point that Dan and Ephraim were not numbered among the 12 tribes because, in this text, because of the idolatry that they had led Israel into. The question was asked, why are not all the other tribes of Israel who followed Jeroboam not left out of Revelation 7? Though Daniel and Ephraim were left out because they had the cities where the idols were set up, but all of them in the north worshiped at them and were corrupt. She's absolutely true. All of them worshiped and were corrupt. And this question also entered my mind whenever I was looking and wondering, why did God leave out whenever all the rest of them committed the same transgression to a degree? So what was the distinction and why? And I think it was because of accountability. Weigh the expected accountability of teaching and leading. Leading in the text of what we're going to be talking about, teaching in other passages. For instance, James 3, verse 1 gives us the basic principle as to why Dan and Ephraim were left out of the count. James would write and say, Be not many of you teachers, my brethren, knowing that we shall receive heavier judgment. Heavier judgment falls upon those that take a lead. They are responsible and they are accountable to make sure that whenever they lead the people, they lead them in godliness and not ungodliness. God gave some things to Ephraim that he did not give to the other tribes. And Ephraim, especially Rehoboam, misused those things and was irresponsible toward them. We have other principles that are brought forth that are like unto the principle that we read in James chapter 3. Here we have in Luke chapter 12, 47 through 48, especially verse 48, this concept. And to whomsoever much is given, of him shall much be required. And to whom they commit much, of him they ask the more. God asks more from those who are in the lead that he has given. In Hebrews chapter 13, verse 17, we come over to Christianity, and we read this verse, Hebrews 13:17. Obey them that have the rule over you and submit to them, for they watch in behalf of your soul, as they that shall give an account, that they may do this with joy, not with grief, for this were unprofitable for you. It is important for us to take the first application that is being made, and the first application is to those that he's writing to as members of the body of Christ. And he says, you have leaders. They are accountable, but you are accountable as well. But those leaders have a specific account and responsibility. And that's the point of our lesson today. Call your attention to one more passage in Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 17 and 18. Here we have a responsibility and accountability on the part of God's chosen person. Son of man, I have made thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, hear the word at my mouth, and give them warning from me. When I say unto the wicked, thou shalt surely die, and thou givest him not warning, nor speakest to warn the wicked from the wicked way, to save his life. The same wicked man shall die in his iniquity, but his blood will I require at thy hand. These passages collectively reinforce the gravity, the seriousness of teaching spiritual truth. They help us to understand that the divine has given us through thy word the responsibility to be teachers of thy word and to lead men in godliness in a godly way and to accept that responsibility. We have entitled this lesson, Prominent Figures, Forfeiture of Ordained Visibility. I know it's a long title, but it goes something like this. There are those who were prominent in the Old Testament that God chose, and they forfeited their God-given leadership and status. And when they did that, they forfeited their destiny, their dynasty. They forfeited them being known for the particular job that God had given them from then on. Let me call your attention, first of all, to Eli. Eli was a priest of God. Notice what God says in 1 Samuel 1:9. God had appointed him as a priest in Israel. He was also a prophet, and he was a judge. Now, Eli, 1 Samuel 1:9, the priest was sitting upon his seat by the doorpost of the temple of the Lord. Sitting by his seat means that he was judging, but he was also a priest in the temple. Eli holds a dual authority as priest and judge. God holds him accountable for the sacred oversight of the people, of which oversight he failed miserably. We notice this failure in 1 Samuel 2, verse 12. It had to do with his sons who were priests in Israel. Now, the sons of Eli, 1 Samuel 2:12, were sons of Belial. They knew not Jehovah. Do you not find that statement absolutely amazing? Here you have priests of God who are sons of a priest of God, and they don't know Jehovah. It doesn't simply mean that they've never heard of Jehovah. It means that they did not follow him. Their righteousness was not righteousness, it was unrighteousness. Belial means evil. They were sons of evil. Well, notice furthermore in verse 22 of the same chapter, Eli hears of their sexual exploits and their sacrificial abuses. And notice his reaction, and that's the problem. What's his reaction to these he has authority over? In verse 22, now Eli was very old, heard all that his sons did unto all Israel, how that they lay with the women that did service at the door of the tent of meeting. And he said unto them, Boys, why do you do these things? For I hear of your evil dealings from all of this people. Verse 24, ye make Jehovah's people to transgress. You need to underline that. You need to put it in yellow. You need to put a star by it. Your mind needs to remember it. You make Jehovah's people to transgress. There's the problem. There's the issue. There's the accountability that needs to be brought forth. Verse 25, if one man sin against another, God will judge him. But if a man sin against Jehovah, who shall entreat for him? Notwithstanding, they hearken not unto the voice of their father. But the father should have done more than simply express his voice and his rebuke. In 1 Samuel chapter 2, verse 30 through 31, here's the divine indictment against Samuel, against Eli. It says in verse 30, 1 Samuel 2, Jehovah saith, I said, the house of thy father should walk before me forever. But now, be it far from me, for them that honor me I will honor, and they that despise me shall be lightly esteemed. You, Eli, fail to honor me. Therefore, I'm not going to be with your family. Verse 31, behold, the days come that I will cut off thy arm and the arm of thy father's house, and there shall not be an old man in thy house. Thus, Eli, because of his honoring his sons more than God, has forfeited any future special blessings as the priest of God and his people, his offspring, being priest of God as well. That's the problem. We read in 1 Samuel 2:35, I will raise up a faithful priest. Eli, you're not faithful. Neither are your boys, and your name shall cease when you die, and these boys shall go to their grave. Eli's failure to restrain evil sons forfeits his house priestly inheritance from then on. Well, it not only occurred with those who were priests, which is absolutely amazing in some sense and a lot of sense, but it also occurred in the area of those who would rule and reign, like King Saul. King Saul stands out because he's the first king in Israel. He had a good heart at the very beginning. He humbled himself before the Lord, though he stood head and shoulders above everybody else. We have the divine appointment found in 1 Samuel 9, verse 15. It goes this way. Now Jehovah had revealed unto Samuel a day before Saul came, saying, Tomorrow about this time I will send thee a man out of the land of Benjamin, and thou shalt anoint him to be prince over my people Israel. He is anointed of God. Who is? Saul, the man you're going to see. I'll point him out to you when he comes by. Verse 17. And when Samuel saw Saul, Jehovah said unto him, Behold the man of whom I spake to thee. The same shall have authority over my people. 1 Samuel 10:1, Jehovah hath anointed thee to be prince. Thus, Saul is divinely chosen and empowered to rule over Israel. But here is his first violation. We see in 1 Samuel chapter 13 that he will offer unto God an unauthorized sacrifice. He is in a fight, and the people of God are in a fight with the Philistines, which that seems to be all the time. Well, Saul has been told that Samuel will come and offer the sacrifice for the people before they start the literal hand-to-hand fighting. Saul cannot wait. Listen closely. We read in 1 Samuel 13, verse 8. He tarried 7 days. Oh, he did great, didn't he? Not great and not good enough. He tarried 7 days, but Samuel came not to Gilgal, and the people were scattered from him. Do you see his faith waning? You do. And Saul said, Bring hither the burnt offering to me and the peace offerings. And he offered the burnt offering. Verse 10 came to pass, as soon as he had made an end of offering the burnt offering before, behold, Samuel came. Verse 11, Samuel said, What hast thou done? Saul said, The Philistines came down upon us, came down upon me. I have not entreated the favor, and I had not entreated the favor of Jehovah. I forced myself, therefore, to offer the burnt offering. He was forced to do it. Samuel said unto him, verse 13, Thou hast done foolishly. Thou hast not kept the commandment of Jehovah thy God, which he commanded thee. You were told specifically. You knew what to do. For now, would Jehovah have established thy kingdom of Israel forever? That's what he would have done. But now, verse 14, thy kingdom shall not continue. Thy dynasty shall end with you. Jehovah hath sought him a man after his own heart. Jehovah hath appointed him to be the prince over his people, because thou hast not kept that which Jehovah commanded thee. His second violation is found in 1 Samuel chapter 15. Now, the second violation is one that is more known than the first violation. And it even gets worse as far as that goes. That's maybe why it's remembered more so. Here, God, 1 Samuel 15:3, would tell him, Now go and fight against and smite the Amalekites. Destroy them. Don't bring anything home. Don't bring a thing home. Destroy the people, every one of them, man, woman, and child. In verse 9, but Saul and the people spared Agag the king, and the sheep and the cattle. Looking at verse 22 of 1 Samuel 15, we have Samuel who would come unto Saul, and he would say, Hath Jehovah as great a delight in burnt offering and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of Jehovah? The answer to that is no. God does not have a greater delight to smell an animal. The animal sacrifice. I heard a lady on the news, on the one of those videos. Why would God want to smell an animal? But he commanded it all the time, just so he could smell the stink. And I wanted to just, I don't want to say I don't wanted to wring her neck, but I wanted to ring her bell. Wake up. The animal sacrifice is not for him. Hath Jehovah's greater delight in burnt offering and sacrifices as in obeying the voice of the Lord? Behold, to obey is better than sacrifice, and to hearken than the fat of rams. For rebellion is the sin of witchcraft, stubbornness as idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of Jehovah, he hath rejected thee from being king. That means no dynasty of rule in Israel. We have called attention to the fact that God has commanded worship unto him on behalf and for the people, not for the sake of the Lord. You have rejected the commandment of God. You don't know who God is. You need to know who God is. Because when you really, really know who God is, you'll not make excuses for exchanging the worship of God for the gods. 1 Samuel 15:28, notice, Jehovah hath rent the kingdom of Israel from thee this day. Saul treats divine command as negotiable. Obedience is degraded into hollow performance. We could go on and we could call attention to a number of others. I had written down Nadab and Abihu. I had written down also Judas. I find the betrayal of Judas absolutely amazing, don't you? Here you have a man that was appointed of the Lord. And every time that the New Testament speaks of Judas, it says, who betrayed the Lord. Judas Iscariot, who betrayed the Lord, time and time again. Why did he do that? Because he loved money. He was greedy. We call attention to the tribe of Dan. We didn't go into any detail when we were in Revelation chapter 7. Let me go into some quick detail concerning Dan. Everybody knows about Ephraim, 1 Kings chapter 12, but most people don't know about Dan. In the book of Judges, it says 2 or 3 times, every man did that which was right in his own eyes. God was the first libertarian. He was not a Republican. He was not a Democrat. He was not of the Whigs. He was a libertarian. He believed in giving freedom to the people. The only freedom you had was do what you want, as long as what you want is to love your neighbor and to love God and love yourself. What? Paul made it clear that those commands, love your neighbor, love God, love your neighbor as yourself, would mean that you would not mistreat your neighbor. It means you wouldn't take his life. So it would fulfill the law and the covenants that God would give unto Israel. So God is the first libertarian, and the only law he basically would give, basically, is to treat your neighbors you want to be treated. That's pretty good freedom. And when I say he's libertarian, I mean that figuratively. I do not think he started the Libertarian Party of today in America. Here we have Dan in Judges chapter 18, where every man did that which was right in his own eyes. And Dan would have 5 men that would go out and spy the land up north, the very tip of the northern part of the land of promise. And they came into the man's house and they took the graven image, the ephod, which is an item of worship, the teraphim, which is an item of worship, and the molten image, which is an item of worship. It is idolatry. The priest stood by the entrance, and in verse 18, when these went in unto Micah's house and fetched the graven image, the ephod, the teraphim, and the golden image, the priest said unto them, What do ye? And they said unto him, Hold thy peace, lay thy hand upon thy mouth, and go with us. Be to us a father and a priest. It is better for thee to be a priest unto the house of one man, or to be a priest of a tribe. Which is it? Well, it's better to be the priest of a whole family, a whole tribe, than it is to be a priest of one man. And the priest's heart was glad, and he went away with the men. So here you have the beginning of idol worship in such a forefront in Judges chapter 18 by the whole tribe of Dan. And this was 100 and 120 years before Ephraim broke away from Israel. We notice in Judges 18:27 these words, and they took that which Micah had made and the priest whom he had, and he came unto Laish, unto a people quiet and secure, and smote them with the edge of the sword, and they burnt the city with fire. That's the northern part. They just destroyed a city in the northern part of the promised land. Verse 28, they called the name of the city Dan, after the name of Dan, their father, who was born unto Israel. We now take notice of verse 30 and 31, and you see Dan's unauthorized priesthood and idol worship. And the children of Dan set up themselves the graven image. Verse 31. So they set them up, Micah's graven image, which he made. Verse 28 of 1 Kings chapter 12. 1 Kings 12:28. Now, what you have is Ephraim. But watch how Dan is thrown in with the sin of Ephraim. Whereupon the king, 1 Kings 12:28, took counsel and made 2 calves of gold and said unto them, it is too much for you to go to Jerusalem. Behold thy gods, O Israel, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt. And he set one in Bethel, down south, Ephraim, and the other in Dan. How did you get away with that? Because they were already for over 100 years steeped in idolatry. And so these 2 boys were rejected. Watch this. From being in the list of the faithful in Revelation chapter 7. Those in Revelation chapter 7 had those that were faithful unto God. They simply, many of them, answering the question of Miss Molly, they simply followed the leaders of those who led them into idolatry, and they repented later on. It is said that in Judea, when they came out of Babylonian bondage, that they never again fell into idolatry. They fell into a host of other sins, but they did not fall into idolatry. They had been taught properly. We would conclude this way. Ephraim forfeited his place of honor, just like Dan. Nadab and Abihu forfeited their place of honor. They had no children to follow them. The nation of Israel forfeited her place of honor because in Matthew 21:43, therefore say I unto you, the kingdom of God shall be taken away from you and shall be given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. Furthermore, Judas Iscariot forfeited his place of honor. In Acts chapter 1, verse 24 and 25, they prayed and said unto the Lord, who knowest the hearts of men, show whom thou hast chosen to take the place in this ministry and apostleship from which Judas fell away. I am struck with the fact that here you had a man that could have been the Apostle Paul, could have been the Apostle Peter, could have been the Apostle John, but he chose betrayal. He chose to forfeit his dynasty as an apostle, his blessing as an apostle. The place of honor for the 144,000 that we read in Revelation chapter 7 was that they were the servants of God, chapter 7, verse 3. They were numbered with those who were sealed of God. Down through the centuries, those who have put on Christ hold a special place of honor. It is anyone of the 144,000 today? I don't think so. That was for a special time, a special place, because of a special circumstance. However, the eternal concept we have to take to heart when John is saying in 2 Timothy 2:19, the Lord knoweth them that are his, and we are accountable as his, just as much as anybody else. We may not lose what Eli did, the priesthood. There may be our children who continue as children of God, therefore priests of God. We may have children who continue to be or may become rulers in the land, mayors, senators, presidents. They may rule in their area. The basic thought is this: whatever gift, talent, opportunity God has given, we are accountable. And you can't do away with that accountability. God has commanded, go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. He that believeth and is baptized shall be saved. He that believeth not shall be condemned. The Bible teaches all men. The Bible teaches all men that they are accountable before God. We're talking about those of age of accountability, that they must be baptized into Christ unto the remission of their sins, that they might be saved. Acts 2:38, Mark 16. And that they are to walk faithful, be faithful unto death, Revelation chapter 2. This is the accountability we must give before heaven.